Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my Oxygen Not Included tutorial series. In the last video, we covered the first 5 cycles, establishing everything we need for bathrooms, water, food, research, and oxygen in the early game. In this video, we will be expanding a bit further with our starting area, and begin training our duplicants to handle some of the more difficult jobs in the later game. So let's go ahead and get started here. Starting off at the beginning of Cycle 5, where we left off. Our duplicants are just finishing up their bedrooms here. And some planters. Now we're going to go ahead and start by starting research on meal preparation, because our first task is going to be to create a great hall in preparation for giving our duplicants jobs. So I'm going to go ahead and dig out this area up here. We're going to leave the oxalite undug. Now, one helpful tip when digging out the starting area: sand, which is the light tiles here, sand tends to fall if it doesn't have anything underneath it. So you'll be able to see here in just a second, this sand will fall when he digs that out. What you can do to help this is raise the priority of the dig on sand itself to 6 or 7. And you'll notice that the priority around it is 5. So the duplicants will try to dig out the sand first. That will keep it from falling and building up on lower levels where you don't want it. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit here. Now we can go up to our room overlay and take a look at our Great Hall. It requires a few things: a mess table, it requires a decor item with 20 plus decor, and a recreational building. So we'll actually need to research 3 different things in order to have our Great Hall. We need meal preparation for the mess tables, we need jobs for the recreational object, and then we need interior decor for a decor item of plus 20, which will be our flower pot. And as our duplicants finish up here, we're going to go ahead and dig out the next 2 layers as well. We'll raise the sands priority to 7. And here we are halfway through cycle 6. The duplicants have just finished research on the meal prep, and so we have access to our mess tables. We're going to go ahead and start research on jobs as well. We can go ahead and place down 4 mess tables here for our duplicants. And we now have a few more things that we have to prepare for. So for instance, this outhouse has 4 visits remaining. Once that is up and it is cleaned, it will begin producing polluted dirt. We also have food coming up on our meal wood. And if we decide to put the meal wood in this unrefrigerated ration box, it's going to go stale very quickly and then rot. So to prevent that, we need a place to put our food. Now in the later game, you'll unlock refrigerators, which will give you a nice place to put them. But in the early game, power for refrigerators and the research required are not readily available. But there is another option you can use to keep your food from going stale. And to do that, we're going to dig down. We're just going to dig down a little bit here, make a little cavern at the bottom of our starting area, and I'm going to put 3 ration boxes down there. While our duplicants are building that, we're going to tell them to dig out a couple more things up here, and we're going to check our printing pod. We're going to print off some shine nymph eggs. We'll go ahead and speed on through to the next cycle. All right, our dupes have just finished researching jobs, so we're going to go ahead and start them researching interior decor. We're also going to build a few things here. We're going to build a jobs board and a water cooler here in our Great Hall. Now our duplicants have also finished building our ration boxes down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set that to all, and I'm also going to set it to 9. And what that's going to do is that's going to, whenever food drops onto the ground from anywhere, it's automatically going to assign one of these duplicants to pick it up as quickly as possible and take it here. Now you'll notice that this ration box has another attribute to it called sterile atmosphere. That's because the ration box is submerged in carbon dioxide. Now there are a few other gases that also offer a sterile atmosphere, but the easiest one to access in the early game is carbon dioxide, since it just falls to the bottom of your base. I'm going to go ahead and copy the settings of that ration box over to the other 2 ration boxes, and they will fill up as time moves forward. That gives our duplicants a place to put the meal ice as it comes up over the next cycle or so. The next thing we're going to do is we're also going to build another, or dig out another section here. And I'm just going to build 2 compost piles. Now what this is going to do is whenever our outhouse is cleaned, probably in the next cycle, it's going to produce polluted dirt. Now this polluted dirt will sublimate into polluted oxygen over time if it's just left out. However, if it's put into a compost pile, it will slowly be changed into fertilizer from the polluted dirt. Or, sorry, it changes into dirt from polluted dirt. These do generate a small amount of heat, but in honesty, it's nothing that you should be worried about in the early game or in the late game. The heat is almost negligible. Now that we have our jobs board, we'll take this time to go over the jobs very quickly. Your jobs offer a little bit of a skill increase based on the job, and sometimes it can unlock new abilities for your duplicants. Now the jobs, as you can see at the top, require different levels of morale for different tiers of jobs. You can see that Tier 0 requires 1 morale, Tier 1 requires 2 morale, Tier 2 requires 4, Tier 3 requires 8, and so on and so forth. Now if we come down here and take a look at our duplicants at the moment, each one has a around 4 to 5 morale because they have the boost from this mess hall here, which gives +3. They have the boost from the barracks. Actually, they don't have a boost from the barracks because it is too large. We'll have to remedy that. And they have a boost from the latrine here. Now, 4 to 5 morale is going to get you up to tier 2, but the purpose of this video is to try and get to tier 3. These tier 3 jobs will begin to open up mid-game options for you. And that's really where we want to be at the end of this video. We want you to be ready to move into the mid-game from the early game. So in order to do that, we need about 3 to 4 more morale per duplicant. Now, when we add in the barracks here, that's going to give us 1 morale. We can also turn this mess hall into a great hall, which will give us another 3. So that's the 4 morale we're looking for. Excellent, we are done with decor. So now we can go ahead and put our flower pot into our mess hall to make it a great hall. I believe we will have to plant something in it for it to make the change. We will plant a briar seed. And you'll watch it change immediately into a great hall, and now it offers +6 morale. Now, if we take a look at our duplicants, we can see that they are still sitting at low morale for now. And we'll monitor them as they move into the next cycle. And they should have enough morale to move up into their higher level jobs. And now that our duplicants are asleep, you can see that they have received the Great Hall bonus as well as the barracks bonus, and they are all sitting at 8 or 9 morale. We'll go ahead and start assigning jobs out. The first 4 jobs that I normally assign are going to be miner, gopher, research assistant, and a farmhand. And typically the reason I do this, actually I'm going to do him there and him here. The reason that I typically do that is because I tend to go for ranching in the mid game, so I want that as quickly as possible. My research assistant is going to get a boost to learning. My miner, I want somebody who can dig out abyssalite fairly quickly, so we want to try and go towards that as soon as possible. And I usually tend to have a gopher just because tidy jobs tend to be fairly high on my priority list in the early game to kind of sweep all of this stuff up. And as you can see here in the decor overlay, that causes a big penalty on decor. So if you can sweep all that up, that definitely helps out. Also, if you have any extra water on the ground or anything of the sort, emptying out bathrooms, things like that, all very important to the life cycle of the colony, and so tidy is a very important job. So we are 10 cycles in almost. We have established a foundation with bathrooms. We have great morale for our dupes to have better jobs. We've got barracks that we can expand on. We've got research station and oxygen generation. As long as we keep our algae up, which we have plenty of algae for the early game, we should have enough oxygen to last us the next 50 to 100 cycles. If you're looking for more tutorials, we'll be going If you're looking for more tutorials and information, we'll be going more in-depth with some advanced research into oxygen, power, geysers, volcanoes, temperature management, food and ranching, oil, space, stress, morale, germs, and jobs in the future. Thanks for watching, and get out there and explore to your heart's content, fellow overseer.